I'm going to kind of try to reflect what we've learned over the 8 different sessions. I think we certainly have guardian ad litem who are appointed by the court, who are lawyers, who do a good job. But the feeling was that there are too many of them out there who don't do a good job. And Mary, what was expressed was as a reason, and we didn't put this in the report, but what was expressed as a reason was they're hired by the court, they can only make so much money, there's only so many hours that they can justify from a business point of view of putting into the case. And that seems to be, at least as far as speculation, that might be part of the problem. As you know, we have, let me make sure I say this right, we have guardian ad litem, we have CASA volunteers, and we have a combination. Melinda, what else do we have? We have a combination of two, right?
Some counties call it a CASA
Stand so we hear you.
Some counties call it a CASA/guardian ad litem program.
Yeah. So we've got to be very careful how we describe this. And there are many good guardian ad litems who are very conscientious. But there just was a consistent complaint all throughout the state about guardian ad litems not putting the time. This is, it's fair to understand, if you're a lawyer, that's what you're selling is your time, and you don't have that much time, I guess, to spend on it. So it's something about that. I think the other thing that goes with that, though, was the lack of CASA programs throughout the state. How many counties don't have CASA?
36.
We got the experts up here. I'm doing all the talking, they're all the experts. See, I'm going to get out of here, and then they're going to go do the work. 36 do not have CASA?
36 counties have CASA.
36 have CASA. The rest don't. So, which is something I think we just have to look at. We also looked at, and we didn't mention it here, we looked at the issue of funding and where we are. And it particularly hits when you talk about counties that don't have a children's services levy. Because then they're totally dependent on the state money. And so those counties that do have a levy, they're in one category. Kids get one level, and counties that don't have the levy are in another.
Could you explain what you mean when you say foster kids are not allowed to sleep over at somebody else's house or go to a room?
Well, who wants to take that on? We got the experts here. I'm going to shut up.
I can do it.
Give me the experts. Stand right up here so Mr. Cohen can get you on tape. So, not tape anymore, right? Digital, whatever.
Well, the process is, say for instance, I'm in foster care, and say for instance, I may be friends with your son or whatever the case may be. And so I mentioned to my foster parents, like, hey, I want to spend the night at Tom's house or whatever. And they'll be like, well, the process. And the process is that they have to get a background check, right? Fingerprint.
They have to be approved alternative caregivers, essentially.
Right. So,
yeah. Just listen to this.
So you got to get
just listen to how absurd this is.
And so pretty much, you may say, like, that's too much. Somebody's parent may say, that's too much. And so they won't even go through the process. Some people
How
may.
long does it take?
How long does it take?
A couple of weeks, maybe.
Well, if they're willing to go through it.
Right, because some people take offense to it. Like, what is this saying? Like, this is, I can take care of the kids. I'm not going to do anything. And, and especially if you're that foster child, you're like, it's kind of embarrassing. It's just, now people got to know your business. Maybe, let's say, for instance, you didn't tell Tom you were in foster care at the time or whatever, or you didn't tell him exactly what was going on. Those questions might come up, and they may be embarrassing to you, to tell somebody like, yeah, my mom was a drug addict, or, my dad used to beat me and things like that. So it's a process. Some people are willing to go through it and some aren't.
Who else? Any other questions? Comments?
I just want to follow up on something Dante and I just mentioned.
Take your
It's so
mic there.
important.
Hold your mic. I don't know if they're all on.
Thank you. When he mentioned maybe he hasn't revealed these things to his friend, what this practice does, and it varies from county to county and agency to agency, whether a child can even ride with their friends to the mall, to go to the mall for a couple of hours. I mean, a lot of agencies won't, that wouldn't be permitted. But what happens then, as the child has to reveal more and more to this prospective friend's family, it stigmatizes the child as maybe being a danger or fearful. And, that can be troublesome for children, even as that message is spread throughout the school, that it's emphasized that they're different. And so I think that's an important element that we don't always address. It's not just on the side of the willingness of the family to participate in background checks, the willingness of the agencies to allow it or find ways to allow it, but also what does it do to the children in terms of stigmatizing them or singling them out as being different in a very negative way.
And I think also with that, a lot of times when I talk to other foster youth, one of the things I would say is those are the moments when you know you're a foster child. It's like, sometimes you can forget a little bit, but then when something like that happens, you're like, okay, I'm a foster child. And so it's just, when we talk about normalcy, it's like those things happening, for instance, the parent, like you said, the parent may say, like, what did this kid do? Why do I have to do this? And ask those questions because, like we said, there's stigmas. And so maybe some people think that foster youth are the reasons they're in foster care. And that may be true about some kids, but for the most part, it's not. And so when those things come up, those parents can kind of look at it like, I don't know if I want that person to be over my house, after knowing these things. So.
Who else? Anything else?
So, is it just the court's or unwillingness to sever the family relationship that makes them legally unable to be adopted, or is there something else?
No, I mean, ultimately, that's what has to happen. I mean, it's the courts look at what Children's Services are recommending. The courts ultimately make their decision. And look, no one wants to minimize that. That is it's been referred to in one court case as like the death penalty, equivalent of that. I mean, you're severing total relationship with that parent, and so but you can't adopt a child until you've taken care of that relationship. So the child cannot. So what you have is these children who are in this kind of no man's land, in the sense that they really can't go back to their parent, but they might be able to go back to their parent maybe sometime, but they can't be adopted. And one of the things that that Ohio has done, which I think is very, very positive, most recently, the Kasich administration has worked with Wendy's to really have advocates to try to get kids adopted and to put them into these different counties. And that works, where you have one person who's sitting there every day thinking about, I've got these kids, they're all eligible for adoption. But what doesn't work is when these kids aren't eligible for adoption. So you can try to get kids adopted, but if they're not eligible for adoption, they're not even in that pool to be adopted. And so that's the problem.